Hi everyone, this is Britt Simon. So I don't normally do live Q&As in the evening. It's evening my time, about 7 o'clock. But I thought it might be interesting for me to do that because, as Sigourney is just proving, this is nighttime for Australia and OC. And so I thought it might be helpful for OC viewers to it's not nighttime, it's daytime, obviously. It's it might be a good time for all of you down under. And welcome to you all. So a few things to just update about, and then I'll take some questions. Just a couple of quick things on updates. The Good Luck case, which is Curtis Morrison's case, has been filed. And quite startlingly, Curtis announced that there are 24,000 named plaintiffs on their case. And what he means by that is selectees and their derivatives. I understand it's about 11,600 cases. That's obviously impressive. I said a few weeks ago, said several times actually, that probably the most impressive thing about Curtis Morrison's abilities right now with Rafael Arena and that sort of thing is their ability to onboard clients in a relatively efficient, smooth way. I know some people got frustrated and worried about, were they on the case, had their fee gone through or whatever. But frankly, onboarding 11,600 cases, that's a big deal. That's complicated. And so kudos to Curtis and his team for doing that. The other case, Go, is around about 1,000 selectees. So between those two cases and a few that are left in Jacob, I think that's about it. There's around about 25,000 named plaintiffs of DV 2021 selectees. So I think it's appropriate to talk about what that means, because a couple of days ago I said at that time, or a few days ago before Curtis published his numbers, based on conversations only a week earlier, I thought Curtis might have, I think, around about 6,000 selectees, plaintiffs, and clearly it's a lot more than that, right? So I speculated a few days ago that having a large amount of selectees and plaintiffs may be a good thing, because basically the judge that's assigned to the case, which we now know is Judge Mehta, will have very little option but to do something about the date. If he wants to help at all, it's very clear, it's very obvious, and frankly, if you don't understand this, you're not paying attention. It's very obvious that 25,000 people cannot be processed in the remaining time. In terms of timelines, the case has just been filed. It's been assigned to Judge Mehta. Even cases that are ongoing right now have mid-July dates and have been going for months, right? So I'm sure Judge Mehta will move faster on the Good Luck case, and he's already working on the Go case, etc. But realistically, it's not like this is going to get solved tomorrow night, right? So it's going to be July probably before we have any answer at all, any sort of movement at all. There'll be a little bit of movement between now and then, perhaps, but the mandamus aspect of the case will only start to take effect, once there's been some time to actually go through. And so that's going to take some time, and I think we need to understand that means that will push us into July. Normally, the September interviews are scheduled in July. So even if Judge Mehta, for example, does something radical and says you've got to do this immediately, it's only going to help in probably August. Maybe we would get some interviews scheduled for August. There will be some timeline, where people have time before their interview to actually get paperwork sorted out, get a medical, and that sort of thing. So we've really only got 2 months, and right now they're scheduling around about 1,200 cases a month. To think that they can suddenly do 11,600 cases plus the Go cases and all of that's going to happen in 2 months. I mean, it's just childish thinking, frankly, if you think that's realistic. It's not going to happen. And so it means that Judge Mehta has to do one of two things. He can either say, okay, I'm going to push as much as I can for these cases, and, you know, dear government, you've got to do everything you can before September 30th, or he can choose the option that he chose last September, which is to put aside to preserve some visas for later issuance, which kind of extends the timeline. It's not really an extension of the timeline, but as long as those visas are preserved before the end of the year, then, you know, they could theoretically be issued later. Of course, we've not seen Judge Mehta make his own decision on that for the DV 2020 case. So that's by no means certain of how that will work. We will know more when we get the final decision in the Gomez case about how that could be applied for the Good Luck and the Go cases, etc. So yeah, that's what's going on with regard to Good Luck. I just saw a comment here. Any comments on the Jacob decision? Do you think Judge Chen will grant the class action? So the reason for that comment from Eli is Judge Chen on the Jacob case, I think it was today, issued an order denying in part and agreeing in part. He denied the F1, F2, F3, you know, family-based cases. But he did say that there was, you know, he has the authority to decide on the class action for the DV 2021 cases. I think, you know, he's preserving his authority. That's fine. He may be planning to do that, but he's not done it yet. So I saw Curtis announce this as good news. It's not bad news. I'm not sure that it's good news. It's not bad news though, which is a good thing, I guess. Will he grant the class action? I don't know. What decision will he make? I don't know. It's really, I'm beyond trying to guess what the judges will do, because as we've seen, you know, it's unpredictable to know when they will decide something and what they will decide. Judge Chen in particular, for example, started out being very pro a certain position and then just went cold. And he and another judge basically just spun their wheels and did nothing, you know, while PP 10014 was in effect. And they just waited for that to go away, which it did in February 24th. And then eventually, you know, they almost said, okay, well, now the case is moot. In other words, they failed to act. Frankly, failing to act is not a good thing. It's a somewhat cowardly approach to not dealing with a situation, just assuming that something is going to go away. So anyway, Francisco, your embassy is working in scheduling cases, but KCC has not sent our ready for scheduling email, and they're unresponsive. I don't know what to do. Yeah, basically you've got to wait for Good Luck. So for people such as yourself, Francisco, the Good Luck case is a mandamus case. Mandamus meaning to try and force the government to take action on cases, you know, on individual cases. They'll have a list. They'll have a list in the Good Luck case of 11,600 cases, 24,000 people, whatever it is, and the government will be asked to report back to the judge on the progress on each of those cases, probably every 2 weeks, something along those lines, once the case gets going, right? And so, and of those plaintiffs, there are already some people that are already scheduled. That's without doubt. And, you know, there'll be some sort of fanfare about that. But the reality was that didn't come from the Good Luck case. It's just that some people will have been scheduled in the last few days. And, you know, so that's great. They'll be scheduled and hopefully they'll get their visas. They'll be adjudicated. But for other cases where, for example, such as yours, Francisco, where you haven't got the ready for scheduling, I think they will push to find your documents and process your documents so that you can become documentarily qualified. They'll either do that or they'll come back and say, well, Francisco has never sent us his documents, which will be bullshit, I'm sure. But that's what they're the two options. They can either try and blame you for the delay or they can act, right? And so they're either going to say, we never had his documents, he never sent them to us, or he sent us the wrong documents and we told him, or whatever. Or they're going to say, yeah, fair enough, we've got the documents. They won't say, yeah, we sat on them for 6 months, but all of a sudden they'll take action on them and you'll become documentarily qualified and hopefully then scheduled. It's not a guarantee by any means, Francisco, because as I've mentioned just a few moments ago, there are 24,000 people, there are 11,600 cases, and there's not time to schedule all of those cases. So, you'll still be looking for either a lucky decision to actually get your embassy to schedule you, or you'll be, hoping that there'll be some sort of preservation of visas and a waiting game will then start. Hopefully your waiting game won't be as long as the DV 2020 waiting game, because by that time, presumably, Judge Mehta would have ruled in the Gomez case about the 9,095 preserved visas. So we will know, we'll be able to predict what, or even see immediately what the outcome will be. All right. So, and I can tell you, and there's going to be some DV 2020 people, they've done all the waiting. They did a lot of the battling and fighting. The DV 2020 precedents that have been set. So, for example, the September 4th decision, the activity we caused in the end of September, the fact that this whole thing has been arguable. All of, DV 2021 is feeling some benefit from the fact that DV 2020 is when all of the arguments were basically made, and all the lawyers need to do now, frankly, is repeat the arguments, some of the arguments that they made before, and the mandamus aspect is, asking or expecting the government to just do their bloody job. So, so that's how that works. All right, so I just mentioned about 2020. There's no decision from Judge Mehta, Pravin. We'll wait for that decision. There's nothing we can do. There's no point, just worrying about it. We just have to wait for Judge Mehta's decision. Now, Judge Mehta has got a scheduled hearing on July 13th for the Go case. So Judge Mehta now has the Good Luck case, the Go case, and of course the Gomez case. Clearly, all points are converging at Judge Mehta's door. He showed he has sympathy for the diversity visa case. He's had a lot of education about how the whole thing works. He knows that the government, have become good at saying they're doing something, but actually doing something different. And so I'm glad it's gone to him, actually, the Good Luck case. I saw some people saying that Charles Cook was saying it would not go to him and that cases wouldn't be consolidated. I see it's gone to him. Judge Mehta could turn around and he could say, no, I don't have any time for that. But frankly, I think if he keeps the case, he's going to try and consolidate them. He doesn't want to argue this 3 times. He wants to argue this 1 time. He wants to deal with Gomez. He wants to deal with Go. And he wants to deal with Good Luck. He'll want to do all of those things because they're all the same arguments. There's the Go and Good Luck have the mandamus aspect, but the mandamus aspect mechanics is very similar to what happened in the Gomez case in terms of give me a report, tell me what activity you're doing on those things between September 4th and the 30th of last year. That's the way that Mehta operated. And then on September 30th, he took the view that the government hadn't done enough to repair the damage that they had caused, and so he preserved 9,000 visas, 9,095 visas. So anyway, that's what's all happening. I'm hoping that's making sense for people. Rita, buenos dias, ¿qué tal? Happy to hear you again. Hear from you again. Okay. What is about holding interview scheduled across most of the USA? I don't understand that. I don't understand what you're trying to ask there. Repeat your question in a different way, please. Solomon, I'm told that there is a general question where the interviewers ask where the individual seek to move. What do you think is the appropriate answer? The truth. Just tell them where you want to go. Doesn't matter where you want to go. Nobody cares. You don't get extra points for moving to Alaska. or extra points for moving to California, nobody cares. So just, if they do ask that question, just tell the truth. For all the questions you're asked in an interview, just tell the truth. So here's the general principle. Number one, be truthful about anything you say. Absolutely, just be truthful. Number two, the answers should be your answers. People often ask me, what would be a good thing to say in terms of the work I want to do? Well, clearly my answer and your answer are going to be different answers. Well, just give them your answer, right? Don't give them my answer. That's stupid, frankly. Third thing is, only answer the questions you're asked. You don't volunteer information that you don't need to volunteer. You'll be asked some questions, answer the question simply, truthfully, and shut up. That is the interview process, right? That's how it works. And the whole interview, if you go on that basis, if you just shut up all the time, give simple but truthful answers, you'll find your interview will last 3 to 5 minutes, and you'll be approved, generally speaking. So, don't make it more complicated than it is. If the Jacob lawsuit gets the class action, will that affect us? Good luck, V. Biden. We'll have to wait and see. The point of the class action is to treat, so I think there's about 380 families in the Jacob case, which are DV 2021. If they get a class action, it's to cover the remaining cases, right? Now, we got a class action under the Gomez case, and essentially what that means is that the Gomez lawyers, who was the Ayla team, became responsible for the whole class of people, within the group, which is essentially all the remaining DV 2020 cases that hadn't been already issued. And so if there is a class action, then it would make Curtis and Raphael and that team responsible for the cases in DV 2021. I'm not sure how I'd feel about that, to be honest. We'd have to wait and see how that goes. I think all the arguments are sort of pretty much made. But whilst I have high regard for Curtis and the team, certainly in terms of the onboarding, especially in terms of the arguments crafted and put in front of the judge, and particularly the live presentation to the judge, I feel other lawyers have done better, frankly. That's my opinion. By all means disagree if you like, but these are relatively easy cases to win. Particularly the mandamus aspect is a relatively easy thing. The government should be doing its job. There's no doubt about that. So to get a judge to agree with that, frankly, is not brain surgery. It should work. Is your case number 22 EU 26 high or not? Well, it's 25 numbers, in front of you if your number really is EU 26. So, I mean, it doesn't take a brain surgeon to figure out that EU 26 is not high when they start at number 1. Now, you probably mean your case number is 260 or 2600 or 26,000. I don't know, because you haven't given me a proper clue. So there you go, blown your opportunity. Shalom. Shalom indeed. Shalom. Right, I sent the request for unlock a month ago and got no response. Is it normal? Probably, Hamza, yes, because and you sent a request a month ago. I think you're bullshitting a little bit there, Hamza. If a month ago is when you found out that you were a winner. You didn't ask for an unlock immediately. But anyway, let's say 3 or 4 weeks ago or whatever, it sometimes takes them longer. And right now, frankly, I hope they are focusing on DV 2021 and not DV 2022. And I'm sorry, you probably don't want to hear that, but that's the reality. They should be focusing most of their efforts onto the process that's going through now. They should not be spending their time, frankly, in my opinion, on the next year. And for those of you that will say, oh, he's against DV 2022, I said the same thing last year about DV 2021 when it was DV 2020, and I've also at various times said, let's focus on who can be helped, right? So, let's be adult about this. I hope people can be adult. because if not, I haven't got any time for you, frankly. Will the current for OC this year be higher than 2022 16XX? Okay, Sylvia, try and work on your English a little bit so that you can make things clearer. Will the current for OC? So you mean will OC region, and write in your number 2022 OC 16XX. So will OC be higher than 16XX? I don't know. What it probably will, but it depends how the embassies schedule, whether they operate at full speed or not, or when that will happen. It depends on the distribution of case numbers within the numbers. It depends on the highest case numbers. Depends on how many people are selected. None of which we know right now. So asking me to predict things about 2022 is just a waste of time. Frankly, I can't do it. Nobody can do it. And obviously, some people say, oh, they know how to do it. Well, they're liars and they're stupid, because you can't do it when you don't have the information. You're just making silly guesses. I'm not someone to do silly guessing. So, World Traveller Raman, I want to know what's the highest case number which is issued. Whatever. Come on, give me a little bit of help. Give me a clear question. I can give you a clear answer. I mean, what does that mean? Mohammed, any update for getting interview in Mideast countries like Afghanistan for case numbers below 16,000? Heard nothing about it on the website. No, I mean, so as you will have seen from the Save Diversity org, what is it? Save Diversity Visa.org website. You can go to that website and you can see the case numbers that they got to. And in Asia region, they're nowhere near 16,000 yet. And to some extent, or largely for the main group anyway, and to some extent, we can see that the lower case numbers are still being prioritized, higher than the high case numbers, right? So, you'll have to wait and see what happens. It really is unpredictable to say which cases are going to be scheduled, but it's certainly not every case less than 10,000, for example, has been scheduled. Nothing like it. It's nothing like that. Dear sir, good luck in Go case at the same judge, which is the first process. I mean, they're with the same judge. The lawyers are all saying it won't be consolidated, right? I think it will be. If I'm Judge Mehta, do I want to listen to one group of lawyers making the same argument that I listened to this morning? No, of course not. He's going to say, look, these cases are similar. They're going to be consolidated, and you'll have joint hearings. So there won't be a question of going first before good luck or whatever. They'll be together. And in terms of the plaintiffs, there'll be a little bit of randomness, and I should imagine case number order will apply because we're now at 25,000 people. So faced with that, the government are probably going to say, well, we're going to go in case number order then. And the judge is not going to question that. So, that's probably the downside, if you like, of having so many plaintiffs on the case, that it puts back the case number priority scheme, which for some people with high case numbers, they probably wish was not there. But again, what we really will want to see, mandamus is important for sure. It will get through some cases, and that's important. But we will need to see a preservation of visas, otherwise there's no hope for the majority of those named plaintiffs by far. And again, some people are going to disagree with me. I've had idiots disagreeing with me all day on Twitter, for example, and through email. I don't know. I don't know what's wrong with people. Mohammed Khalil, do you think KCC responds faster to embassies than they do with selectees? Whether it's general compensation requests to file. Yeah, they've got different. The embassies have a different sort of way of communicating with KCC, and KCC are obviously not going to give the embassies the same phone number that you call. There's obviously a different phone number, a different way of communicating. So yeah, they communicate faster. It's not like the embassies around the world are phoning the same 7500 number, the 606, 7500 number, that we'll call, and they're pressing 0 to get through to the operator. No, they're not doing that. Come on. They've got a way of accessing KCC and talking to KCC immediately. We just don't know the phone number. And I've never had that phone number. It's not something I've ever had access to. Pierre Baptista. Hi, Simon. I sent my documents a long time ago, several times, but it's still not been processed. Can you advise me, please, if I have to send them once again? I mean, it's your choice at this point. If they haven't got your documents by now, they're probably not going to get to them. So, you're at EU 16,000. Are you a go or a good luck plaintiff? I hope so. If you are, that might help. But if you are not one of those, then there are 25,000 people who've now got legal firms working for them that are trying to push those cases as a priority. So that doesn't bode very well for non-plaintiffs, frankly, in your position, for example. Grizzly Mob, if renting in the US requires social security and credit scores, how the newcomers are supposed to rent? You can get rental properties without a social security number. Is the simple answer. There are some places that will only rent to you if you've got a credit history and a social security number, and there are other places where you don't need that. So you have to just use a little bit of common sense and persistence to find landlords that don't necessarily need that, right? What I did when I first came here in 2014, I booked a hotel for the first 2 or 3 weeks, I think. And during that time, I found a landlord that was prepared to accept my credit history, which I have produced from my previous country. Plus, of course, I had I had cash to put down in terms of deposit and that sort of thing, and so it was pretty easy. I got instant approval, and that was prior to having a social security number. Okay, so not a problem. Nikki White, you're in OC region, all qualified, still waiting for interview. Try to contact KCC to ask if I will be scheduled, but no reply, and not even answering the phone. Bugger. Is there anything I can do but wait? Just keep persisting, Nikki, is all I can say to you. I hope you joined one of the lawsuits. That will help if you did, because you'll have a different way of communicating. They'll actually be working from this list I described earlier. But if you're not on one of the lawsuits, keep trying. But clearly, there's not going to be a happy ending for many people here, even on the named plaintiffs, unless we get a preservation of visas. Okay. Solomon, thanks for the info. Cases AF13K 2021. KCC. Do you think they'll start soon? Maybe. I don't know about Sudan in particular. I can't predict individual cases. They might do. Really, your guess is as good as mine. I keep trying to say this to people. I've lost my ability because of the chaos, right? I've lost my ability to make any sensible predictions or to give people guidance that says, if you do this, it'll fix your problem. In previous years, in different situations, I could say that. I could say to someone, here's what's going on with your case. Okay, you're ready for scheduling. I can tell you will get on the next batch. Or based on the fact that you got ready for scheduling on the 5th of this month, you will have missed this month's scheduling, therefore you have to wait another month. Or you need to send in this document and everything will be lovely. All of that's gone because they've effed the whole thing up, frankly. So I can't tell people what to do in order to make their cases work. It's very frustrating for me. It's very frustrating for you. Much more frustrating for you, I'm sure. But they've buggered it all up to give it an OC region slant on it. It's buggered, mate. Do I need to have police clearance from a country where I lived 5+ years ago? Yep. When they say police certs, they don't say police certs in the last 3 years. They say police certs. Read the rules, read the instructions, and you'll find out that yes, you have to do that. Do I need to fill in the DS-260 with my current passport that will expire in 4 months? Yes, because it's your current passport. If yes, new, should I send both passports? Right, and if you renew it, then yes, you provide the old and the new passports to KCC, when you're sending in documents, and also take that to the interview. Jeff, my case number is high, and yet I didn't receive an email asking for supporting documents. What do you think? Should I send my document in advance, or should I wait to receive the email? I hope you're DV 2022. I hope, Jeff, you're not telling me this situation for DV 2021. If you're DV 2021 and you haven't yet sent the bloody documents, then send the bloody documents. If you're DV 2022 and your case number is high, you could send the documents proactively if you want, but I personally wouldn't bother. It's not going to make your case go any faster, and you're more likely that your documents, particularly your police certificate, will expire before you're ever interviewed, right? So it doesn't make sense. You may as well just wait. Wait a few months at least if you've got a high case number. Okay, if you're DV 2022, as I say, if you're DV 2021 and you're still asking about your documents, then you're not paying attention. Hussam, would KCC process my case because I'm a plaintiff in good luck lawsuit before the judge order? Okay, again, people need to understand the earliest result we're looking for from the Go and from the and from the good luck cases is not an order. It's not an order like a preservation of visas. That's the last resort. That's our backup plan. That's what we want to happen. When we get to the end and we haven't had everyone processed, that's what we hope will happen, right? The reality is the mandamus will happen in drips and drabs immediately, more or less as soon as the lawsuit really starts. One of the first things the judge is going to do is ask the government to give a report on all 24,000 people on the good luck case and 1,000 on the Go case. And so the government will then have a week or 2 weeks to compile that information and give a report back to the judge, and then he will ask them to continually update that every week or every 2 weeks or whatever schedule he decides. And because he's asking for information about those cases, the government in the background will be telling KCC to get off their asses and do something for this list of people and schedule these people so that they can show some progress to the judge the next time the report is due. So we're not looking for a big order yet. That's not what we're looking for. That's not what we're expecting. Mandamus means get on with it now, and the perfect reaction would be that you get scheduled for an interview. That's what you're looking for. Okay. Hi Britt, how can I donate to Zarth this year? I have sent you a few cheeky donation questions in the past. What do you mean by a cheeky donation question? That's strange. So it's an interesting point. Zarthesius hasn't, he pays for his own hosting, and he also, he pays for the extraction of data. Now, in the past, I've helped him with that extraction of data because I get a little bit of income from donations, which is really, I put that to one side for my daughter. It's about, and I'll show you sometime what I've done with some of that money. I redecorated my daughter's bedroom just recently with some of that money. So I get a little bit of money from donations. I get a little bit of income from YouTube videos. It's not much, but it's a little bit of income. That income is more than enough now to offset my hosting. I host my own blog site. I pay, for several years now, I've been paying the expenses of that. But the YouTube income is actually offsetting that now. And so I've taken some of that money in the past and given Zarthesius a bit of money to pay for the extraction of data. But I've not paid him anything for the hosting that he does and that sort of thing. But he's a nice guy, very smart guy, same as the gentleman that's running the Save Diversity Visa site. They're probably in the same sort of position as I was a few years ago, where they just want to give back. So I'm not sure you need to donate. It's a nice thought, but just by coming onto my videos, you're helping, and I'm funding a little bit of the fees that Zarthesius pays, although I'm sure he's still paying for some of the fees as well himself. So actually, it reminds me, I need to ask him where he's at with the money, whether his pot of gold is running low. How long does KCC takes to go responsibly? Yeah. So if you're DV 2022, it's probably going to take a while for them to respond. They turned off the phones. Was it Nikki that was saying earlier? Nikki White was saying earlier. They're not even answering the bloody phones. I mean, it's really disgraceful. But so if they're not answering the phones, they're also not responding to emails, in the right way. Do you think DV 2022 will face the same fate as 2020 and 2021? I hope it'll be better, but who knows? I don't know what's going to happen in the COVID disaster over the next 12 months, nor do you. Nobody does. And it's a real thing, people. I'm sorry for the morons that don't understand that, but that's, it's a real thing. And whilst I don't appreciate how the government have handled it in all the countries or in all the embassies, for example, there's no denying the COVID situation is bad, and that in some countries it's going to get out of hand. It's going to get worse before it gets better. So there you go. Solomon's asking, how can I get a host when or if I qualify? So you need to sort out your own host, right? Nobody's good. I can't help you with that. Generally speaking, if you're from Africa and the concept of finding a host is a sort of a well-known thing. I mean, from some countries they wouldn't dream of going with a stranger or even a family member to support them, while they start their lives in America. Coming from the UK, for example, I would never have dreamt of doing that. It's just not in the psyche of people from Europe or from Australia, for example, or New Zealand. Although Kiwis and Aussies are used to couch surfing, but that's a different thing to asking someone to host you. But in Africa, as a region, it seems to be more common, and in some other countries. And so if you come from a country where the hosting thing is a normal thing, then perhaps find someone that that knows someone in the USA that perhaps will help you. That's probably the most likely way of doing it. It's not necessarily who you know, but it's who the people that who they know, right? Family and friends of friends and that sort of thing, or friends of family. That's the way you should do that. In Jordan, we are just 70 plaintiffs. Would the embassy interview all of us if the judge ordering the lawsuit? I don't know, Husam. I can't guess. Do we have to do lawsuit for DV? No, you shouldn't have to. Some people have asked me about this in that sort of strange way. Why do we have to have a lawsuit, to get our rights? You don't have to. But if some people have got on a lawsuit and they've therefore helped or protected their win a little bit more, rightly or wrongly, that puts them ahead of you. Now, I'm not saying whether that's right or wrong. I've got mixed feelings about that, frankly. But nevertheless, it happened. So I recommended people to join the lawsuit, not because you had to join the lawsuit, but because other people were going to anyway. So you may as well, right? And if you didn't, that was your choice, and now that opportunity is gone. So all you can do is just hope for the best. DV22, case number 26K, you don't mention which region you're from. You've got to tell me the region. That could be Asia, that could be EU, or it could be Africa. But anyway, 26K is not going to be current this year in any of those three regions. So you could send it now, or you could wait a couple of months. It doesn't matter which. Dubai watching. Good. Why do you think Judge Chen asking second amended complaint from Jacob plaintiffs? Don't know. And why is he asking for class action? Well, he was Curtis and co asked for the class action, so he's not asking for it as such. He's responding to a request for it. Go 7U. Does anyone know the second lot of DV 2022 being published? I'm saving a number. Okay. We don't know yet whether there will be a second draw in DV 2022. The reason we don't know is because we don't know how many people were drawn in the first draw. There's a sort of a magic number of around about 100,000 people. 100,000 people or less, and probably really more like 80,000 or less. If they have only selected 80,000 or maybe even 90,000, they may select a few more cases in September or October. So I always tell people to check again in October. But it's only in those years where they didn't select the full amount in the first go, and we don't know. We have no idea whether that's a reality or not. So check again in October. Right, my father's mother's surname. I hate these sort of questions. My father's mother's brothers, uncles, aunt. I lose the plot. I don't know what you're talking about when you start doing that. My father's mother's surname is Nepal, and my surname is Newpain. Is there is all place same in birth certificate and the place there is a problem or not? I have no idea what you just asked there. I have no idea. It's been a long day. I've got no idea. I can't read your mind. Abdullahi, you're a 2022 selectee, AF11K, which is a low number, from Somalia, living in Korea. Good grief. Do you have an idea approval rate in the Seoul embassy? No, I don't. And even if I did, it wouldn't specifically account for people from Somalia, for example, or even Africa region. So, most of I have published. You could Google Brit Simon Embassy League Table. I published some data a few years ago that gave a rough idea of what the embassies did, and there are some differences. Cairo, for example, were generally pretty lenient and would approve quite a high number of cases. Ghana, at the other end of the scale, for example, would refuse a high number of cases. With Korea don't see a lot of activity, not a lot of cases. So there's really nothing that I can say that gives you an idea of, you get a 7 out of 10 chance or a 9 out of 10 chance. It's nothing. Your case is your case, right? It's as good as you have made your case. If you've been honest, if you meet the requirements, if you don't make a fool of yourself in the interview by insulting the CEO, then you'll be approved, right? It's really quite simple. It really is. It's the simplest way to get a green card, I can tell you that. Riverstone. Riverstone. Is that a real name? Did your parents really, they had Mr. and Mrs. Stone thought we'd call you the river? No. Riverstone. Oh dear, brilliant. I'm 2022 AS4000. Do I need to remove? Do I need to renew my passport, which will expire in 4 months, or shall I renew? Submit. Did we already answer this? Police. Oh dear me. So your passport will expire in 4 months. So yes, you will need to renew, and you need to provide the old and the new passports when you go to the interview, and perhaps when you send documents. So that's one reality there. Oh, thank you. Go 7U. Thank you. That's a YouTube donation there. I finally learned what those things are. Thank you, Go. So the second part of your question is, do I need to have a police certificate from a country where I lived as a student 5 years earlier? I think I already answered this. So the answer is still yes. To Edros, shalom again. I have a question regarding the police certificate. If someone was out of the home country due to education and finished in 2020, yeah, so depending on how long you were in that country, yes, get the certificate. And I always say the certificate for the current country needs to be if you've been there at least 6 months. For previous countries, it's if you lived in the country for more than 12 months. But if you were in a country for even 10 months or 11 months, get a police certificate anyway. Why wouldn't you? Right? Just go through the process, follow the reciprocity page instructions, get the police certificate, because sometimes you can't prove the exact date you entered the country or the exact date that you left the country, so it's ambiguous. And to remove the ambiguity, just get the police certificate. Simple, right? Marwan, on which basis the number of visas preserved by the judge is decided specified? In DB 2020, the judge came up with a sort of funny mathematical calculation. It wasn't funny actually, but a strange mathematical calculation. He was trying to split the baby between the damage done by the government's actions as opposed to the damage done by COVID. And this is something I've talked about before as a worrying aspect. Judge Mehta did take the view that he would not give relief that is due to the COVID crisis that is reasonable, but he would give relief to some of the actions of the government that the government took and therefore impacted people. So things like the no visa policy, things like some of the bans which are just arbitrary and capricious, some of the decisions, etc. He gave relief on those things, but he separated out the impact of COVID anyway, and he also separated out. He sort of calculated how many would normally have been processed and did some sort of mathematical calculation. How he'll do it again, whether he'll do it again or not, I don't know. I can't predict, but I'm just telling you what he did last year. Same judge, right? Marco, could you explain the order? The order issued in the Jacob case. I think I already did. Is it possible that only one of the lawsuit wins? No, I think in terms of winning for a mandamus lawsuit, the winning is getting action on cases. And I think there will be plenty of examples in both cases where people get action on their cases because of the lawsuit. And so in that respect, both cases, I believe, will win, right? The bigger question is whether there'll be any relief in terms of preservation of visas for beyond September 30th. And I don't know what will happen about that, but what will happen in one case will happen for the other case too. You could not, if you're Judge Mehta, make one decision in one case and a different decision in the other case. The arguments will be almost identical, even though they're from two sets of lawyers. The arguments will be largely the same, almost identical, and therefore the decision will be identical. Hi Brits, what's your own prediction on the DV 2022 processing? No predictions. I don't know what's going to happen. Is the US Embassy in London expected to receive DV 2021 interviews? Right. So London scheduled some interviews. Good. Not very many, but scheduled some DV 2021 interviews. But then there was some sort of talk about interviews, not just DV 2021, but in general, interviews being cancelled there. I don't know why that would have been, because the UK is, apart from the India variant of COVID, which they're obviously concerned about, the UK is doing pretty well, with COVID, and is coming out of the sort of the lockdown over the next few weeks. So I don't know why that would be necessarily, but there is a risk that the London Embassy will cancel some cases even that are scheduled already. I don't know for a fact they will, but there is a risk. So we'll have to see. Pagur Kumara. I'm DV 2021, case number AS21XX. Sri Lanka Embassy has not scheduled any interview yet. What can we do? You've entered the good luck lawsuit, then that's what you can do. You have to hope your lawyers can argue for you. I don't think, by the way, that the lawyers or the judge will force an embassy to open and operate if that embassy is determined that local conditions mean they can't operate safely. So, for example, there's no way in the world a judge is going to successfully tell the embassy in India, for example, in Mumbai, to go ahead and open. It's not going to happen, right? Because of the crisis with COVID over there, there's just no way. They're not going to gamble with people's lives. Now, is that the situation in Sri Lanka? I don't know. You would know better than I do, but for whatever reason, they're not scheduling cases still, and so that could be a problem. Hi, good night, says Anne. Hi, good night. Costa Baylor, technically Go might have the final decision on the 13th of Jacob and July 15th. Yeah. So bearing in mind that these final hearings don't necessarily have a decision on that day, right? So I totally get where you're coming from. But if you think that we're going to get a decision in Go or in Gomez or in Good Luck on the 13th or the 15th of July, a decision, I don't think that's going to happen. But as I said before, they're mandamus cases, so hopefully we'll get action before that, right? Do you think the time remaining until September is complete? No, of course it's not sufficient. I've already said it's nowhere near sufficient. And you're dreaming or naive if you think there is. And people are arguing with me about that today. It's like, how stupid could you be? How do you get from 1,200 visas 1,200 visa interviews in a month to 12,000 in 2 months. How do you do that? You have to have all of the embassies operating at full capacity. You have to have, and more than full capacity. You have to have, physicians standing by, just waiting for all these people. I mean, KCC aren't even answering the bloody phone at the moment. How are they going to suddenly process 12,000 interviews? Of course, it's not going to happen. Grow up. If you really think that's going to happen, you're dreaming. And honestly, I can't believe people argue with me about it. It's amazing. 26,000, is it high or low? It's relatively high, but it's not too high in a normal year. But of course, this is not a normal year, Said. Okay, so you have to wait and see. I like it when people call me mate. It reminds me I'm British. I submitted my DS-260 in June 2020. That's good, Peter. I've renewed my passport since then. Now that I've been requested to submit the documents, do I need to resubmit the form with the new passport number? If you've already submitted the document with the old passport, I would not suggest you resend your documents, particularly if you've already been told you're documentarily qualified, that you're ready for scheduling. I would not suggest you resend the documents in that particular circumstance. I would suggest you simply take the new and the old passports to the interview. And if you don't have the old passport, I hope to God you've kept a photocopy of it or something, right? How many possibilities to reach USA? I'm DV21 when I don't know. I don't know how to answer that. How many possibilities? How far can DV 2021 go in terms of visas processing? What's the status? I've covered all of that. Any news from the embassy in Tashkent? Not that I know of, but do check the Save Diversity Visa webpage. It's got information about each embassy's scheduled interviews. Puda, how you doing? There's actually a third lawsuit that is supposed to be filed in July. Someone mentioned it. I can't remember the name. I think that's Nicolette Glazer. Puda, I've how can I say this politely? I'm just not sure of the track record of that particular legal firm. I'm not sure of the resources. When you look at the resources that Curtis Morrison has got, obviously he's got millions of dollars on the line in terms of potential fees, and so he's got tons of resources that he's suddenly built an organization, and there's multiple lawyers, etc. If you look at the Ayla team, for the Ayla team in the Gomez case, etc., for example, we had Maya Brown, we had the law center. There was something like 40 or 50 lawyers available to us on that team. If you look at the if you look at the Charles Cook team, there are multiple, probably over a dozen lawyers involved in that team. Nicolette Glazer has got no track record in DV lottery cases, as far as I'm aware. I've reached out to her in the past and got zero response from her to try and explain to me, what the strategy was or what experience she's got. I know that she was sort of like a rah-rah pom-pom girl when the other lawyers were fighting their cases. She paid attention, but I don't see that she had a track record. Now, if you've got no other option, then maybe you want to go ahead and hire her, but there's not a big legal team and there's not a big track record. So, but she could copy the same arguments that will be put forward by the Go and Good Luck teams. She could do that perhaps, and maybe that would be okay, but she hasn't got a tremendous amount of backup resource that I know of. And Nicolette Glazer, if you're listening and you're horrified by what I just said, by all means reach out to me and answer some of the messages I've sent you. Let me know. Arthos, the documents that are required are quite sensitive information. Would you be able to talk on how they are sent to KCC? Are they simply scanned and emailed, or do you do it a different way? They are scanned. You scan them. So if you're talking about your birth certificate and your passport and the police certificates, yeah, they got sensitive information. But if you're too embarrassed about your sensitive information to give it to the people that are going to give you a visa, then frankly, you're not going to go ahead with this process. You scan them yourself, so you control that data. You send them via email. Email is not secure, but it's relatively secure. Should be okay. But if you don't want to go ahead, then don't proceed with the process. It's as simple as that. Bazel, I'm DV 2021. My case number is AS12K, and my interview number location is Guangzhou. Problem KCC didn't process documents. Are you on the lawsuit? I hope you are. You can keep nagging them, but they're not responding very well. You have to wait and see what happens. Ahmed says, I pawn in Qatar. It's not the best place to do porn, to be honest with you. It's dangerous, I would imagine. So my eligibility country of birth is Qatar, but my nationality is Egyptian. I have a copy of my Qatari birth certificate, but my Egyptian government gave me a birth certificate written. Hang on a second. So the document you have from Egypt that refers to your place of birth as being in Qatar, for example, is not an ideal document. The place where you're born is the issuing authority, the authority that controls whatever hospitals there are in that location. So in general, and I know there are problems in Qatar and some of the other countries in the region, but in general, the document that you should be getting, even though you're an Egyptian, should come from the Qatari authorities. So that one would be more compelling. If you can't do anything else but present an Egyptian document that refers to your Qatari place of birth, that's kind of okay. But from an American government perspective, it's not the right authority to say anything about where you were born, right? Stop doing the porn. It's not a good career. Anne, my husband won the DV 2021 AS 22206. You can just when you're giving numbers, by the way, it doesn't matter that you've given me the exact number. It doesn't really matter. People can guess numbers. There's no big deal. But it's better to do AS22XXX to say that you're a 22,000 number. That's how we generally do that. And he's from Syria, but live in Trinidad, and he sent DS260 and all documents in email KCC. He's with Curtis Morrison lawsuit. The embassy here in Trinidad is open, and not a lot of people for interviews. I really don't know what's happening here. Wait and see what happens. I can't give you any prediction as to what will happen with your case. Hopefully, the fact that you're in the lawsuit is a good thing. The fact that you're a 22XXX case number is kind of bad because they wouldn't normally get to your case before they've done some of the earlier cases, but that could change because of the good luck case, right? So maybe you've got a chance. Okay, so a couple more questions then. Ahmed's still doing porn. On that, I'm porn outside the country as well. You're porning everywhere. You're porning inside Qatar, outside Qatar, absolutely. I've said before, I've got a sense of humor of a 10-year-old. So you, Ahmed, probably don't know why I'm laughing, but I enjoy it. Okay, so you're born outside the country on the state of Qatar. Well, I don't know what you mean. Okay, I think I've answered that question. I don't know what you mean by you were born outside the country, but outside of Egypt, in Qatar, perhaps. Is that what you mean? Oh. I have to file DV-AOS when my case number is current? Okay, if you're filing adjustment of status, you cannot file yet if you're DV 2022. You have to wait until your number becomes current in the visa bulletin. Now, what will happen is, let's say your number gets current, let's say in December, and I'm just guessing, I don't know if this will be the right time. But let's say that in December, they publish what numbers will be current for the month of February, right? Is that right? Yeah, I think it is. Yes, it'll be called the January Visa Bulletin. It'll be published in December, and it relates to or gives us advance warning of what numbers will be ready in February. If the number is going to be ready in February, and they say that in December, you can file in December. It's called the early filing policy for adjustment of status. There's a document available. It's on my website about that, but that shows on what basis you can file early. But it is called the early filing policy. But nevertheless, you can't file until your case number is announced as being current in the visa bulletin. That means that the Iran, so the Iranian number is higher than 79XX, right? That's what that will mean. Ahmed, you're doing loads of porn. Right. Rabea Begum, please help me. How can I get it? I don't know what that is. Isa in Nepal, what do you think is the best time to submit the DS260 for AS9XXX DV2022? Go ahead now. No harm in submitting now. If you want to delay your case a little bit, you can wait for a little bit. And you know, your case, because you're from Nepal, your case probably isn't going to be ready for interview for almost a year from now. So it wouldn't harm you to delay for a few months even. But don't, because they're just messing around with documents and everything else, don't delay too long, okay? Sarah Chen, given the situation, do AOS applicants stand a better chance of getting the green card than CP applicants? Yeah, absolutely. In this particular moment in time, yes. You know, you're in a better position. There are delays at the field offices because there's a big backlog of cases, but the field offices tend to give priority to DV lottery cases. They always have done, and so yeah, they process pretty quickly. I mean, AOS is not a fast process, but if you can take advantage of the early filing policy, it's almost as fast as consular processing. And right now, everyone in consular processing world is in a mess. So yeah, absolutely, it's better. Carlos, is there any reason why for South America in 2019 there were 1,300 case number and 4,800 in 2021? Because I won the D 2021. Okay, so what happened was in DV 2020 and DV 2021, the draw system was modified from how it had been in DV 2019. So what it meant was that the same number of cases, real cases, that took up, let's say, 1,500 case numbers in DV 2019 would take up 3,000 case numbers in DV 2020 and DV 2021. There were a lot more holes, what I call holes, in between the cases. The reason for that was some sort of security system change that they implemented with the draw process. So the draw happens in the same way. They draw 1,000, you know, basically they allocate everybody a case number from top to bottom, from case number 1 to case number 100,000, let's say, in South America. And then they say, okay, the top that we're gonna go through, and we're gonna say the first 5,000 cases, we'll look at those. But out of the first 5,000 cases, we're going to reject that one, 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 right? We're going to reject a bunch of people because their photos were of donkey's asses or something, or they've applied twice in the same year, or we know that they're fraudulent entry for some reason, or they didn't follow the procedure for some reason, whatever reason, right? So they disqualify a bunch of cases, and those cases become holes. Those people are never notified that they were possibly winners. That all happens. What I just described all happens before the May announcement, and so basically the numbers are going higher this year as they did in DV 2020, and they probably will in DV 2022 because of this new security procedure. So that's why your case number is different, which basically is a long-winded way of saying that your case number SA 1400 is lower in DV 2022 than case number 1300 was in DV 2019. Right, you're actually lower. Right, so you're better off than you might have thought. Okay, I could talk forever about this stuff. It makes me laugh when I see other YouTubers and you know, somebody asks them a question and they come up with complete bullshit nonsense information, but they still struggle to even provide that information, or they provide bullshit nonsense information but they're very confident about what they're saying. They just pluck it out of the sky. It's complete nonsense. I know this stuff inside and out, so I never struggle answering these questions. Anyway, Ankush, does county? I think you mean country. Play a role in Asia. Free I'm from Japan. There's less cases from here. No. So the draw system, the draw system establishes by law the 6 different regions in which draws happen. And so for all of the Asia cases are drawn within an Asia lottery. Within that region, all of the countries, regardless of the country, have an identical chance of selection as every other case. But for reasons that I've explained in videos, I've demonstrated how the draw process takes place. There is a slight difference for Iran and Nepal in Asia region. Those 2 countries actually have less chance than any other country of selection, but get more selectees than any other country in the Asia region. Right? The reason for that is quite simply because they have a lot more entries from Nepal and a lot more entries from Iran than any other country in the region, and therefore there are more cases to choose from when they're being selected. But the chance of selection for what I call the rest of Asia, not Nepal, not Iran, is identical for every country. And the reason some countries get 100 selectees and another country gets 500 selectees is simply because the other country has 5 times the entries of the first country. That's all. Okay. Yellow Star, do you recommend Australians join the lawsuit for 2021, or is our consulate working at good enough speed that you should all get your visa? How much does it cost to join the lawsuit? Well, as Puda mentioned earlier, there may be another lawsuit that's available, but right now, both the lawsuits that I would trust or I would invest in are closed for business. Australia is doing quite well. I don't think, there is a chance, there is a risk that not all cases will be interviewed in Australia, but Australia is doing better than other countries in OC region, apart from New Zealand. And certainly OC as a region is doing better than other regions. So you've got a good chance. And, frankly, Australians, you've got money. It probably would have been smart to be on the lawsuit, frankly. But, you've probably missed that boat. So just keep your fingers crossed. Andrew says, I helped you 4 years ago. I'm glad to hear it, Andrew. And I hope you're living in the USA, and I hope you're succeeding and thriving in the USA. It's not easy to come to America. I absolutely know that. But hopefully the last year has not been too challenging for you. So thanks for stopping by, Andrew. Hello, Mr. Simon, and everyone else, says Anne. Do you think Fiji application will open? Or when do you think Fiji application or Fiji embassy will open? I don't know. I have no idea, Litania. We are good luck plaintiffs sent our documents about 18 weeks ago. Okay. I Love America 5 says, my lawyer has informed the embassy in my previous country that I've adjusted, but no response. Don't know what that means. It's me, Regendra says, I'm a good luck plaintiff from Nepal, and I wish you to be brutally honest about our possibilities. I can't say. It's not. So I think you might be thinking that I secretly know what's going to be the outcome, or I'm secretly working for the government or for the law firms, and that I have some sort of inside track. I don't. Nobody knows. Nobody knows what's in the mind of Judge Mehta. Nobody can predict the future. I am brutally honest, whether you want me to be or not. Frankly, I'm going to be brutally honest all the time. It's just my nature. I don't bullshit. My initials, Brit Simon, is BS, but that's the only BS involved with me. What's the real reason behind this backlog, in your opinion? Flipping idiots is what, oh, don't get me started. Actually, you got me started too late. So Trump started the backlog, right? He did. He did all sorts of damage to the immigration system. It was rumored before the Biden administration took over. The Biden administration, like Mayorkas, has confirmed that the immigration system was gutted by the previous administration. Not a big surprise. They just confirmed what we already knew. And the Biden administration they've done a good job on COVID, for example, but they've been singularly focused on that one topic. And there are many people, myself included, wishing that they would do more faster on other areas, right? And, you know, a lot of you probably remember, if you listened to me last year, I was very keen for Trump to be gone and Biden to come in. But unlike a Trump follower moron that wears Trump-colored underwear, I don't wear underwear. I don't have flags. I have a flag on my wall over there for America, the American Stars and Stripes. I made that from wood. That's what I have on my wall. I don't have on my wall a Biden flag. I don't have, a Kamala Harris photo on my wall. I have a photo of my father and my mother on my wall. Nothing to do with, Biden. So, if they make mistakes, I'm going to call them out on it. I have no problem with that. So Biden has not fixed things as fast as he should have fixed things in the immigration area in particular. When I say Biden, I really mean the Biden administration. I don't particularly blame Joe Biden about that. I was very disappointed, by the way, with Kamala Harris's narrative that she gave in Guatemala. I thought that was bullshit. I understand that they're trying to discourage people from making a harrowing and dangerous journey. That fine, I get that, but don't be like the former guy. And it was too close to the former guy, in my opinion. But anyway, so there are backlogs created, and once there is a backlog, once there is a bad behavior within a system, it's very difficult to cure that, and that's what we're seeing now. KCC. About 2.5 years ago, implemented this document procedure thing. It's been an absolute disaster. It's been a complete mess, and it has screwed up 2 years, which were already being damaged by COVID anyway. So that's the real reason for the KCC backlog, is this document procedure thing. It's a complete disaster. The way they've implemented it is terrible. But if you think that's because of some sort of animus by individuals, as it was in the previous administration, I don't believe that's true at all. I don't think there's any real animus there. The lawyers will try and argue that there is, of course. I mean, Curtis today was arguing with me about PP 10014 being made unlawful. To be clear to Curtis and anyone else that's listening, PP 10014 was never declared unlawful. And Curtis is a lawyer. He wants to try and argue something in a certain way, and so he called it unlawful. He's done it a couple of times today. It's not true. It's not correct. It's not accurate. But if you're Curtis and you're trying to make some sort of argument, then that's what you do. You just gloss over the truth a little bit. But it's not accurate, and Curtis knows that. And anyone reading the comments should understand that. But oh well. Sorry, I missed this question. Do you think there's any chance that we can have the interview before 30th September? I have no idea. When will the Turkish embassy begin processing visas? I have no idea. Do you think the places like Auckland will manage to schedule all their cases? I've been waiting for a while now. OC 1900, I don't know. They're doing better than most, but I really don't know. I can't say about a particular case, nor the complete volume of cases at that embassy. They're doing well. Hello, mate. It's Saeed again. I think we've already done that one, Saeed. Biomed Mariam. Good morning, sir. How much can we wait for Meta's decision? It's stressful. You'll wait until we get the decision. There's nothing I can say more than that. Thank you, Zebna. That's a lovely thing to say. Thank you for appreciating that. Juan, I'm searching for DB 2022. How long will be until I get the email to submit my supporting documents? I don't know. I suspect that they will send for supporting documents from low case numbers before high case numbers again. It depends on the volume of work they've got and how many resources they've got working at KCC. And they might, please God, they might actually implement a new way of doing things. I don't know, but I hope so, because what they've done before has just been a disaster. Doing in Savannah, born in KSA, want to make my interview in KSA while I'm not residing there. In your case, Mohammed, you can ask KCC to schedule the interview in KSA. They may or they may not do that. They generally will for someone that is born in that country. You've got connections there. they generally will do that. You can ask KCC. Is that going to reduce my chances of visa? Because I've heard that every embassy has a particular amount of visas, and the priority is for citizens and residents. The first part of your point there, that every embassy has a particular amount of visas, that's incorrect. That's not true. I don't know where you heard that from, but whoever told you that was wrong. And the priority is for citizens and residents. Yes, there is the two parts of that. The visa processing priority is geared towards immediate relatives of citizens. That part is true. The preference for residents. So some embassies are saying, look, we've got enough workload. We're only going to take cases from our local, in-country residents. They're not taking cases from abroad, for example. So in a roundabout way, you've kind of mixed together 2 or 3 points there and come up with, you've added 2 + 2 + 2 and come up with 73, but that's okay. I think we've corrected it now. Azim in the mood. My case number 29XX, I'm from Uzbekistan, DV 2021, still nobody have interview. What do you think about my interview? I don't know. I don't know, Azim. I can't predict. You've got a low case number, that's good, but I don't know what's going to happen. Chance of opening in Kathmandu, my God. They need to, but I have no idea. It could happen tomorrow. It could happen in 2 months' time. I have no idea. From Nepal, case number 800. It's a pretty good case number, but as you just heard from Chase Dream, Kathmandu right now are not even processing cases. So, yeah, that's a problem there. Liberia is scheduling some cases, yes, but not very many. I managed, Mikel, DV 2020 to 2020 when I managed to come to the USA. Awesome, that's fantastic. Drop me a line on my blog and let me know how things went. Let me know the story. I love hearing the stories. Any idea we're the final hearing for 2020? So, Annie, it might be on July 13th, coupled with the Go case, but we don't know for sure. And that will be the final hearing for the Go case, but that doesn't necessarily mean we will have an answer on that day. We'll have to wait and see. So, so fingers crossed. Gave strong hope and faith. Great, thank you. It's amazing. I had some child today. Sorry, when I say child, I mean young man. No, I mean child, actually, saying that I was all sorts of wrong or something in 2020. I don't know. Some people appreciate what I say, some people don't. The people that don't, I don't know why they listen. I would just move on if I were them. But there you go. So Sam, if I want to contact KCC and I've made a mistake in the original entry, birth year, in the email to them, should I write the wrong date or the right one? I've written in the DS260. Okay. So in the DS260, you have to put the correct date, which it sounds like you've done, right? When you contact KCC, they will only ever deal with you if you give them the incorrect birth date that you used in the original entry. They use that as a way of accessing your case. So you have to continue to quote to them the wrong birth date. So on any interactions with them, you'll have to do the same thing. Okay. Considering the rate of interviews in Nairobi, US Embassy is being slow, other than African countries like Nigeria recording high interview. Yeah. Why is Nairobi slow? I don't know. I don't know the situation locally. Especially with his regular viewer was asking me pretty much the same thing today. I just noticed I haven't shaved today. Look at that. That's 1 day of growth. I look like a stubbly old man. So I don't know why Nairobi is acting so slow. I really don't. Isabel. Yeah, answered that one already for you, Isabel. Yes, AOS is better at the moment. When did fulfill? Yeah. When did fulfill? When should you fulfill, Manoj? If your case number is below 1,000, you can go ahead and fill it in now. Case number is 2022 OC 1300. When can we expect your interview? So just as a rough guess, if this was a normal year, you would probably be spring to summer, our spring, summer, March through to about June timeline of next year, roughly. But this is a weird year. I don't know what the progress is going to be. I don't know how they're going to start. We'll have to wait and see what hell happens, Alvin. 9.99. Oh, thank you. All right, Bekele. At the time, I filled the form. I had no passport. I tried to get one at the immigration office in my country. I filled out the form. Okay, so you did the original entry without a passport. That is grounds for dismissal or denial of your case. And your reason is not a valid excuse. The fact that the immigration office was closed, sorry, that's not an acceptable excuse. You can try and proceed with your interview, but before you ever get to interview, I would check again on my blog, etc., to see what has happened to similar cases, whether they got any chance at all, whether some cases were approved, or whether they're all just denied. The new passport requirement was introduced just a couple of years ago, so there's very little track record, for that. We don't know what that, what the outcome will finally be. Right, a couple more questions, then I've got to call it a day. Sydney. Right, Christopher, so you're making an interesting point here. It won't help you to submit your form quickly, right? There's no benefit to submitting it like this week or next week or anything like that. So yes, if I were you, I would probably wait a couple of months and see how the situation looks over the next couple of months. Okay, yeah, I would delay if I were you, but don't delay too long, right? But you can certainly wait a couple of months. By that time, we'll know a little bit more. Let's see, last question. Just trying to find someone with a slightly different sort of question. No. Rachel, you'll be the last question. So you said you believe the cases will be consolidated. Will this mean that Go plaintiffs will have to wait longer for our hearing? No, not necessarily. I don't know for a fact, Rachel, so I would be predicting. But no, I'm just trying to assume how Judge Mehta will look at this, right? There is enough time between now and July 13th for discovery or whatever else has to happen in the good luck case. And because it's a mandamus case, it can actually move quite quickly anyway. It's that process I described earlier of getting a list of plaintiffs and getting action on those cases. That can all happen quite fast, right? So I don't think it will delay Go, and I don't think Go will delay good luck. But we'll have to wait and see how that goes. I can't be 100% certain. Okay. All right. So just quick scan, make sure there's none of the regulars that yeah, sorry, that's my childish. So this was comments made a few minutes ago when I was making jokes about our friend from Qatar, I guess. I'm just scanning down now. You have a wonderful day too. Yep, I think I've covered most of the questions. So thank you for joining me. Hopefully I answered your question. Hopefully I got to your questions or answered some of the questions. And thank you for spending a few minutes with me. I'm glad to talk in the evening here. This is a little bit of a different time, and hopefully I've reached a few different people than normal, and hopefully that's been helpful. But by all means, please make sure you subscribe to my channel. If you like me, let me know. give me a like and a thumbs up. If you don't like what I say, then go away. That's fine too. You can go and listen to one of the many other channels that talk about DV lottery, and with all of the good information that they have. By all means, do that. All right, everybody, have a good night and a good day for you down under. All right. Okay. Bye now. See you.